Hello and welcome to the Championship Talk podcast. I'm your host Paul O'Toole, and not joined with me is my co-host Thomas Falco. He's got some work commitments. However, we still wanted to get our podcast out this week. I think the first place to start is congratulations and welcome to Hull. They have been promoted from League One. They are the first team to be confirmed to join us. It's nice to see teams don't want to join us that are from the Premier League. They don't want to get relegated. It's good when we see teams being promoted and excited to be in this league. There were some great celebrations at Hull's game at the weekend. And it's great to have them back, bouncing back at the first time of asking. We will be doing a preview podcast for the season ahead after the summer, where we'll look in detail at the three teams that come up from League One. But I just thought it was worth mentioning that congratulations to Hull that have been promoted. It'll be interesting to see who secures the next couple of spots. Looks like Peterborough will be very close as well. And then obviously we've got the playoffs. Currently Lincoln, Sunderland, Blackpool and Portsmouth occupy those places. So it'll be interesting to see. There's only a few games left. Some of them got 3 games, some of them got 2. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from then on. We've also got to say, unfortunately, goodbye to Watford. We'll be sad to see you go. They've been amazing in this league. They have also been promoted along with Norwich, so we'll be sad to see those Watford go. They've been amazing. I think change of manager midway through the season has done them a world of good. But again, we'll do a deep dive in our end of season rundown where both myself and Thomas can go through the teams. We're going to do a team of the season. We'll do player of the season, goalkeeper of the season, etc. We do all that, and then we'll break down the teams and how they've performed. So, we'll be doing all that in future episodes. Going to start with the big news, and it was hinted a couple of weeks ago. I know that some big sports football profiles have come off of social media to make a stand against online abuse. And I'm really pleased with what the governing bodies, the FA, the EFL, FA Women's Super League, FA Women's Championship, PFA, LMA, Kick It Out, FSA, will all be boycotting social media from 3 p.m. on Friday, until 3 p.m. Friday the 30th until midnight on Monday the 3rd of May. And this is to make a stand against online abuse. In a joint statement on behalf of all of the above organisations, as a collective, the game recognises the considerable reach and value of social media to the sport of football. The connectivity and access to supporters who are at the heart of football remains vital. However, the boycott shows English football coming together to emphasise that social media companies must do more to eradicate online hate, while highlighting the importance of educating people in the fight against discrimination. And there's various tweets and social media posts against that. The boycott action from football in isolation will, of course, not eradicate the scourge of online abuse. And I think that's the interesting thing to say. It's not about... this isn't an act to try and... that will eradicate the online abuse. What this is designed to do is to get social media companies to act in a way that puts more barriers and puts more emphasis on accountability for people that think it's acceptable to create online a toxic online place and to aim abuse at footballers. And I think this is one of the best ways that the governing bodies can make a stance and try and enforce some change. And we've talked about, I personally believe the only way to stop online abuse and online hate is to have a verification process, so that it's no longer anonymous, and every person that posts something is posting something that they know will be is not, there's no veil of there's no invisibility behind it. They know that they will be, they're putting their name to those posts, and it will stop the online abuse. I think there's a wider problem in society around people thinking it's acceptable in the first place, whether it be for a variety of reasons. Now, obviously, that it's not football's responsibility to tackle that. However, it is football's responsibility to make a stance, and I think that this is probably one of the best ways that they can do it. The statement goes on to read, finally, while football takes a stand, we urge the UK government to ensure its online safety bill will bring strong legislation to make social media companies more accountable for what happens on their platforms, as discussed at the DCMS Online Abuse Roundtable earlier this week. I think this could be quite powerful, and I think myself and Thomas discussed this at great length. If the content from the Premier League and social media companies, if you look at top topics of trending, probably when the European Super League kicked off, you probably will find most of the topics that were top trending on these social media platforms were football related. And these are global topics. If you find most Saturdays, if there's a big incident in one of the big games, most of the trending topics will be football related. Even when the NFL season's kicking off, even when other things are going on, football will be trending really high towards these social media platforms, discussion topics, the like count to some of the videos, etc. If the Premier League and EFL do more stances like this where they do not post content, and I would say they probably need to urge Sky and BT to do the same, if none of their content was being processed, none of their content was being posted on these platforms, these social media companies are going to take a big hit in ad revenue that goes into news feeds, because the more topics are trending, the more ads go into those trending topics, more revenue is created by these social media companies. The more people that follow this boycott, and myself and Thomas are going to be following this as well. The Championship Talk podcast won't be tweeting or on Facebook over this weekend, because we will be observing that as well. As little influence as we make compared to the Premier League, the less people that view social media over this weekend, the bigger this stance has, the bigger impact this stance has. And if stances like this are going to have the same gravitas as potentially a verification system in terms of hits in revenue, the social media companies will have to act. If they think the Premier League, the EFL, the Championship, if it goes broader than that and other leagues follow the same suit, if they think they're going to have this hit in revenue, or if these companies withdraw from social media completely, they will bring in a verification system, because they're not going to want the continued disruption to their ad revenue, the continued disruption to their profits. They would rather take one big hit on a verification system and then build their revenues back up. Businesses don't like continual disruption to profits. They don't like continual disruption. They don't like bad press. And social media companies are starting to feel the heat. They're on a burning platform, and it'll be interesting to see the effect that this has. And I would urge the EFL, the Premier League, to do more of this, to do more of these. Have a blackout every key Premier League window. Have a Wednesday night and Tuesday night. Don't tweet over Champions League games. It would make a massive difference, and the revenue that would be lost to these companies, because people are not going to go on social media if they don't think the content's going to be there or the discussions are not there. When you look at the Twitter feeds on a Saturday afternoon, or if you look at you can go after a Champions League game and see the goals, the highlights, a big red card. If that content's not there, people are not gonna look at Facebook or Twitter. Myself and Thomas, we look at social media. I know Thomas is big into his horse races. He looks on there to see form guides. He looks on there stuff like that. If that stuff weren't there, he wouldn't look. Same as me. I wouldn't look if I didn't think the discussion points around a controversial goal or a red card or to see a goal that's just been scored in Europa League, for instance. If that content's not going to be there, I won't watch. And if I don't click on it, an ad doesn't pop in my feed, I then don't get Facebook or Twitter, the penny or 1.5 pence in AdSense that they would get from me looking at that ad while I scroll through their Twitter feed. And if more people do that, the reach of football is so big, probably football is one of the only sports that could have the impact and force change on social media that this would have. And I think the only way to get to a point where social media is a haven for good quality discussion would be verification. If you were starting a social media platform from scratch and could guarantee 100+ million users, but they were all verified, that would be such a harmonious place to have a conversation. And I think that this is a great way of going about that. So moving away from that on other championship news, Nigel Pearson's agreed I believe it's a 3-year deal to remain the manager of Bristol City. So I think he's done a good job there. I think that was a really good appointment by Bristol City, really experienced manager. And I think with a good summer and a good transfer window, I think he could turn Bristol City's fortunes round, because when you look at this season compared to last, it's not been the best of seasons. I think they've had a couple of poor transfer windows where they haven't really they've increased the depth of the squad but haven't increased the quality of the starting 11. And I think that's going to be a big summer for Bristol City. And I think he when we do our prediction, I'm pretty certain Bristol City, if they make the right type of transfers, I think it'll certainly be in discussion for teams that could potentially finish in the playoffs. Okay, so that's it from me. Myself and Thomas will both be back next week. As always, check out the main podcast if you want us to run down all of the games. If you want to support the Championship Talk podcast, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and you'll get notified of all of our updates as and when they happen. The schedule's a little bit hit and miss at the minute, but we will be back to normal scheduling very, very soon. As always, if you do want to follow us at Championship TA1, remember we won't be posting anything over this weekend, but we will be doing going forward at Championship TA1, where you can interact with us and we can always go. We like hearing the news perhaps that we haven't seen, because again, the Championship is such a big covers such a big area. A lot of the major news outlets don't cover the Championship in great detail, but a lot of you that live locally to your club will see in your local newspapers local news going on in your area. For instance, myself and Thomas, Norwich is the local club to us. Ipswich is just down the road. They've just been taken over. That hasn't really been covered in main detail anywhere else. But if you live in Ipswich, it's very more prevalent. So you know more about it. So if there is any news articles you want us to cover, hit us with a link to the local the local news sites, and then we'll absolutely cover that in this podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we shall catch you all next week. Goodbye.